Alright, I'm Cadet Blanco, this is Cadet Hoy. We're going to be going through a demonstration on receiving, disassembling, reassembling, and performing a functions check on your M4 rifle. So, first thing you're going to do before you handle any weapon is you're going to clear it. So Cadet Hoy is going to go ahead and secure the weapon without putting his finger in the trigger well. He's going to pull back on the charging handle and he's going to inspect into the chamber. When he sees that no rounds are in the chamber, he's going to release the weapon, and now he's going to prepare to disassemble the weapon. So the first thing that Cadet Hoy is going to do is he's going to push out both takedown pins or one at a time based on user preference. Alright, the one to the farthest to the rear and then the one closest to the handle grip, typically called the pivot. So go ahead and pull those fully out. You will then separate the upper and lower receivers from each other. Now, based on user preference, you can either focus on the lower receiver and begin taking out the buffer and buffer spring. You're going to push on this small retaining pin that you see visible there, and that will then release the buffer and buffer spring to come forward. By the book, you will need to separate both the buffer and buffer spring in order for it to be fully disassembled. Additionally, go ahead and pull off the buttstock. Now, one preferred method, go ahead and put it back on, and something that some of the soldiers were getting hung up on is an easy way to do it is that instead of pulling out from here, is that let's say it's in the default position, extend it all the way out, then pull out like so. Don't pull out on here, but instead out here. And that should allow for seamlessly putting on and off. So again, putting it on, I pull out as opposed to down. Alright, so again, out and up. Alright, I can even use my thumb to help out. That's the lower receiver. Now he's going to focus on the upper receiver. He's going to pull back on the charging handle, which will then bring back the bolt carrier and obviously the charging handle itself. The charging handle, remember that it has teeth and two small, it's difficult to see with the camera, but two small grooves that this will actually fit into. Alright, so key is always make sure that before you actually push in the charging handle or pull it out all the way, to make sure that you find the teeth in order to pull it out. Alright, so now secure the bolt carrier and go ahead and take off that first retaining pin. Some of the other soldiers were having difficulty pull this out. You can either use the corner of your fingernail, your pinky, or all of us should have pencils and pens on us. You can very easily use a pen or pencil to scoop it out. Next, you're going to allow the firing pin to slide out of the bolt carrier. With the firing pin on the ground, you're going to go ahead and push back on the bolt itself. The cam will then come spin outwards. You'll need to rotate that 90 degrees so it's flush or parallel with the gas tube. Removing it will then free the bolt itself to come out. Placing all of that on the ground, you should have, or correction, you do now have a fully disassembled M4 carbine. So now, depending on the scenario, you'll either have to wait for a visual go-ahead, or the instructor, depending on the instructions beforehand, will just tell you, if he doesn't say anything, assume that it's correct and go ahead and reassemble the weapon fully. So, depending on user preference, but I personally secure the bolt first upon reassembling. Put it into the bolt carrier. Alright, next you gotta secure the bolt in there. So you're gonna take the cam, alright, making sure that the circle, pull it out one more time. Alright, making sure that the circle that's pointing up is this, alright, not this which has two indents on either side. So, again, easier for me. There you go. So again, slip the bolt back in the bolt carrier, put the cam in, alright, you're going to push it 90 degrees, push it out, that'll make it lined, so now the firing pin can actually slide down into there. Alright, making sure that the bolt is fully forward and the firing pin is flush all the way down, you should be able to insert the retaining pin without any difficulties. If you have any difficulties putting it in, visually look down and see what's going on. Is it getting jammed up? Do I need to push it up or down? You shouldn't be any issues, but it was something that was getting hung up on during our training. So now you have your bolt carrier fully assembled. It only makes sense to just move on to the upper receiver. Go in and slip the charging handle in, put it into the grooves, slip the bolt carrier in so the gas tube fits into the charging handle. You're going to go ahead and slide both forward. It should slide effortlessly. It should all slide very smoothly together. All right? Now, upper receiver is done. Lower receiver, only makes sense. Buffer and the buffer spring, slide them both in. Push them so they push past the retaining pin. Next, buttstock. All right, again, push out, down, done. All right, now, without pushing in the pins prematurely, you're gonna go ahead and slip both in, then click both pins in, all right? Now, you move on to the functions check, all right? Go ahead and clear it one more time, all right? Moving on to the safe checking, so you're gonna go ahead and put it on safe, which it already is. Press back on the trigger, it should not fire, the hammer should not fall. You're gonna then switch the selector to semi. Pull trigger, it should fall. Keep the trigger depressed to the rear. You will pull back on the charging handle once. Pull back on the charging handle while keeping the trigger pressed to the rear. You'll let go now, and you should hear the cam reset. Go ahead and pull back on the trigger one more time. Now, semi is complete. You're gonna go ahead and rotate the selector to burst and pull back on the charging handle. Now you've effectively reset the hammer and the cam. You're going to pull back and hold on the trigger. Now you're going to pull back on the charging handle 3 times in quick motion. Going to go ahead and release the trigger. You should hear a thud. Go ahead and pull back on the trigger. You should hear it fire. Now, burst is complete. You're going to go ahead and move to safe, but you will have to charge first. So charge, move the selector to safe, and clear it just one more time. Both those actions can happen simultaneously, but you've effectively disassembled, assembled, and done a functions check on your weapon.